Hey there, friends. It's your boy here, You Can Play, and I'm glad to have you back. I hope everyone's having a good day, and if not, well, hopefully this makes it a little bit better. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Normally, I play video games on this channel, but today we're going to be doing a blind dive into the new WoW cinematic, The War Within. We'll also be checking out the ALLERIA cinematic that came with it, and after that, I'll go ahead and watch the rest of BlizzCon off screen, and when I return, it'll be time for some discussions. We'll chat about the current state of WoW from my perspective, look ahead to the future of the game, and explore some theories. So if you enjoy this type of content, then please show your support for the channel by subscribing and hitting that like button. And here's the fun part. Share your thoughts in the comments below and tell me about your favorite expansion and your fan theories. And also, if you see my eyes darting around, I'm so sorry. This is my first time doing this type of thing, so I'm very new at it. And I just have like a little sticky note pulled up here to the side about just some points to make, so we stay on topic, and don't get off like I'm currently getting off track. So no more delays. Let's go. Oh, Rin? No, he died. Oh, that's Anduin. Manduin. He really looks like Chris Hemsworth in this. At least from the jawline. Ooh, that sand looks very nice. I forget how great these cinematics are. Like every year it just gets better. That was weird. Hey. Shout out to Blizzard. They make the best cinematics. Oh, look at that. Wow. That skin is just so realistic. Who's that?
You're here to tell me we don't get to hide.
Oh, Thrall. Green Jesus.
You needed time. We stayed away. But time by itself heals nothing.
Kinda true. Kinda.
You didn't just come here for me. It's the visions. You've seen them.
I suspect many have lately.
The music is amazing. Love the scoring.
Something, someone is calling out from the heart of the world.
Yeah, the planet.
Like a voice from a dream.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Something dark is coming, Anduin.
Didn't Magni tell you about this in BFA?
The world needs your light again. My son.
Oh, that's from Shadowlands. They redid that. He mad.
I'm not that person anymore.
Maybe.
I have no light. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
Yeah, you did some stuff, bro. Especially in Shadowlands.
You are not your past, Anduin.
That's also true. I mean, he didn't do it on purpose, so...
I trust you.
Oh, that's sweet. Man, this music just fills you up. Just fills you.
Hear me.
Okay. I hear you, Azeroth.
Getting worse. whatever's coming, I'll stand with you. Of course I will. But we were drawn here by the voice. Who is it, Thrall? Who's calling out to us?
I'm not sure yet.
It's... BFA told you
But
this.
that sword was aimed at someone.
I'm happy they didn't forget about the sword. It's been ages. Oh, do you? Oh, I have to run this back a little bit. Nice, nice, nice. Very nice. Very, very nice. So I'm just gonna run it back a little bit. Number one, what I liked about this expansion was, sorry, not expansion. What I liked about this cinematic was that, number one, Anduin's face, sometimes when they're doing like 3D animated faces, that's not like a monster. There's kind of like an uncanny valley going on, but this one, for the most part, was really good. I think there is like a little small part where it is a little goofy. That would be probably like, where is it? Let's see. Is it right here? Yeah, right here. So as you can see, you could tell they must have had like probably somebody model as a base, because this area over here, near the eyes and the nose, is normal. You come towards the mouth though, you could tell it's not exactly, it's proportional, but there's something wrong with it. See right there again, there's eyes area, head area, very good. The mouth, not bad, but definitely they need to do a little touch up on it. Other than that, it was a very good, very, very good cinematic. Especially the sand. Sand was awesome. The individual particles. But the musical scoring, as I was trying to say during the video, the musical scoring is amazing. It was, I was about to cry, because just the way that bass and that violin and all of that just comes in and that symphony rises, it really hits. So whoever did the musical scoring for this, you alone should get some accolades, because that was like movie level scoring. But shout out to the cinematic team as well, because like I said, every year the cinematics get a little bit better. I would say this is probably one of the best ones. My top three though would have to be Wrath, followed by Legion, and Shadowlands. Now, I know it sounds a little like not in terms of just epicness, but just in terms of art design. That's how it would go. Because Wrath was a little cartoonish, but it was not really uncanny in any way, and it just looked badass. And the snow effects, the ice effects, the metal on the Lich King's armor, perfection. Legion is second, mainly because of the detail in like the rocks and just everything that's going on with the weather effects. And in third place, I would have to probably put, like I said, Shadowlands. I liked Shadowlands for the art design in the cinematic. We're not going to get into the expansion, but the cinematic, you have to admit, it wasn't that bad. But this is really good too. If they touched it up a little bit, this would probably be my top three. But as of right now, I'd say this is top 5. Fourth place would probably have to be, if you want nostalgia, it'd be classic, but if you want art design wise, Warlords of Draenor, that one was not bad at all. Grommash looked a little goofy, but other than that, very nice. Alright, now we're going to move on to the ALLERIA part of this. Like, it was like a two-part thing. So we're going to watch that, and then we're going to get into the discussion. So, I'll see you in that one.
My visions
Hello.
are not the same as the others.
Lauren.
No radiance, no song,
Yeah, she's...
just the shadow
She messes
taunting me
with the void, I forgot.
from below.
Oh, a new zone. Nerubians, right? Yeah. Isle of Dorn, okay. The Ringing Deeps, new zone. Whoa, what's that in the corner? Is that the sword? Okay. Just gonna gloss it over. Ooh, new talents? I like that. Earth and Aladris. Third type of dwarf. I like that. Oh, there's a sword again.
The fate of our world rests upon the edge of a knife.
Who's that?
And our battle lies deep within.
I like her face. The stuff she has over here and the eyes. Very nice. Alright, so let's give so I want to give a few thoughts on that. First of all, I really enjoyed this part right here. Nope, there it is. They're bringing in the new school flying to old school mount from the looks of this video right here. And, oh, the way that just opens up, that is pretty awesome. I don't know who that lady at the end was. It might have been Xalatath, the dagger woman, because I don't remember what expansion it was. It was, you meet her in Legion, but then in BFA, no wait, did BFA come before or after Legion? I don't know. You meet her in Legion, but then the following expansion, she does show up here and there. And I know she's like a void elf in game. So that's the only person I could think of, because there's no way that was ALLERIA, because they showed her with a completely different outfit. And they don't really tend to change like main character outfits that much, unless they show that they're aged or something. I mean, it could have been ALLERIA, but she didn't have that scar, so I'm thinking it's probably Xalatath. If it was, very nice. Yeah, so this is overall pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go through BlizzCon off screen, and I'm gonna come back and we'll talk about some of the new features and stuff. And I'll go through some discussions. We'll talk about the state of the game right now, PvP, PvE, followed by the state of the future expansion, according to whatever BlizzCon says. And we'll also have some theories at the end for fun, and Yeah, you please comment some of your theories. Please comment one of your favorite expansions. I'd love to know. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alrighty, friends. So I'm back. I just watched the rest of BlizzCon off screen. So we just watched the two cinematics, the main one for the expansion and a follow up with the gameplay, not gameplay, but just expansion features. Now, before we get into discussions, I want to give a little bit of background on me and WoW. So I'll start about when I got started. I started WoW back in about 2000, late Wrath, we'll call it late Wrath. So I started WoW during late Wrath, and back then, right, the way the free trials worked is you'd only get 10 days to play, and then after that, you can't log in unless you pay. Nowadays, they changed it, so if you have a free trial, then it's open, you can log on anytime, you just can't proceed past the trial limit. Back then, you had 10 days, after that, that's it. So, what I would do is I would constantly make new emails to play. I would play for 10 days, hit level 20, and then I would just make a new account, and I would just keep doing this because at the time we couldn't afford playing something like this. And I feel like I might be the reason why we have email authentication, because when I was a kid, what I used to do was after the free trial period ended, I would make a new account, but back then they didn't check any authentication on the email, so I would make an account like bob at fishshoes.com, just any BS like that, and it would work. So I would just keep doing that over and over again. Eventually, I ended up getting down like the leveling from 1 to 20 in like 2 days. Or was it a day? I don't remember. It was a while ago. And then my first character, like my very first character, was either a dwarf or an undead. I don't remember exactly. It was one or the other. It was either a dwarf warrior or an undead warlock. I don't remember which one. Now, I actually fully got into WoW Cataclysm. See, back then, you had to buy each expansion individually. So you had to buy Classic, TBC, Wrath, and then Cataclysm. However, I had gotten the deal at the time. It was like for $20, you'd get all three, Classic, TBC, and Wrath. So we went to GameStop. I bought it. It came with the discs, but code as well at that point, because during Cata things were starting to improve technology-wise a little bit, so we didn't have to use the discs. So I started in Cata after. Well, I played with the 3 original expansions for the first few months of Cata. Then I got Cata, and Cataclysm. I remember my main was a Death Knight named Grimlex, and I played in Bialgan. Fun realm, but it died out. I played in Bialgan, and basically, I made some friends there. It was fun. But then eventually, during Pandaria, I moved over to like the role-playing servers, mainly because they were just so populated, and it was just so fun, just walking around in the woods and suddenly seeing like 3 other players there. It made the world feel alive. So, excuse me. So, I switched over during Pandaria from Bialgan to these role-playing realms. I never really got into role-playing much, but I just enjoyed the amount of people there. So I've been an avid WoW player for years, and until recently, I haven't been able to play Dragonflight as much because of just school, and I don't know, I've just been burnt out. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the discussion of the current state of WoW, and then we'll go on to the future. So, discussion time. Let's start off with the current state of WoW. Well, at least my opinion of the current state of WoW, and we'll start off with PvE first. So for PvE, I want to talk about a few things. Catch up mechanics, or lack of. Um, Rep, mount, grind, alts, mythic dungeons, raids, and then we'll move on to PvP. So when it comes to PvE, as of right now, I feel like there is a lack of catch up, um, mainly for people who've been out of the game for a while. Uh, sometimes you get burnt out, or you just don't have the money to play, or you just get busy with life, so you take a break. And what I feel like what's happened is, while they do have some catch up mechanics for gear, for example, if you log in after a while, you get updated gear and your quest log gets cleared out, which is a fun feature. But in terms of catch up, I feel like rep and mount grind is lacking. It's possible to pretty much grind everything out in 3 to 4 months, but that also means, as about 3 to 4 months, you have to clear up your schedule for WoW. And while I feel like you should definitely be awarded for grinding, I feel like people who just don't have the ability to constantly play shouldn't be punished either. Mainly because, as someone who's been on and off Dragonflight, I might have played for a month or two, went off. Played for a month or two, went off. Um, when you come back in and you see that you're only like renown 10, but by the like you log off at renown 10, you log back in, say 2 months later, everyone else is at like renown 50, and for you to catch up means you're gonna have to spend about 2 months. Now they did increase the rep catch up a little bit generally, and there is like buffs that happen periodically, but they did say that with the new expansion coming over, rep would pretty much go hand in hand with your alts. So I feel like that would definitely be a big move. That's going to be really good, especially because, for example, say you on your main, you hit renown 10 by doing the basic quests. Well, when your rep is spread out across your alts, when you make an alt and you reach renown 10 by doing the basic quests, you'll reach renown 20. So that's going to help a lot of people out, because then if you don't feel like constantly grinding, you could just make 3 to 4 alts and hit that rep soon. Hopefully they do it like that. If they don't, then it's gonna be kind of similar to what it is now, but just with a little bit of help. Um, Next is, I want to talk about alts and the catch-up mechanic on alts. So, as of right now, your main will lag behind, but not as much, because if it's your main, it's gonna have better gear. But with alts, the problem is like, and this goes hand in hand with mythic dungeons. The problem I see right now with a lot of people is that, whether it's your alt or your main, say you come back after a long time, you're gonna have to eventually say you want to start doing high mythics. You start with by doing mythic 0, but the problem is, if you've been out for too long, everyone's pretty much moved on from mythic 0 and are around the mythic 5 to 7 bracket, generally. So you have to open up your own mythic 0s, and that takes a while for people to come in, because not everyone is doing alts, and not everyone is that far behind. Well, not everyone, but most people, the ones that are consistently playing at least. And then on top of that, there's a big chance that, like, out of all the dungeons you do, you might get maybe 2 pieces of gear, and you have to wait 24 hours, and then you do it again, you might not even get 1 piece of gear. So generally it takes about a week of constant grinding to gear up your character to eventually get into the mythic 1 to 4 bracket. But then the problem with the mythic 1 to 4 bracket is you have to open up your own group, because people will, if you try to join people who are doing mythics 1 to 4, well, mythic 1 to 2 isn't really that much of a deal, but 3 and 4, I see people start to get picky, because they'll be like, oh, your Raider IO, your Mythic IO score isn't that good. And it's like, well, the only way to get it up is by doing these mythics. But I can't do these mythics because I can't get a group. And making my own group, sometimes I'm in queue for like 2 hours. So there is a problem with PvP, PvE in that sense. And now with raiding, it's a little bit easier, mainly because raiding is so huge, the amount of people that are in raids, that you can have a lot of wiggle room. So it's not as I wouldn't say competitive, but for a casual player, it's a little bit easier. But for mythics, you're gonna struggle from 0 to 3, but not that bad. You will have to grind. Then 4 to 5 is gonna be a little bit of a struggle, and then anything after 5, you're gonna, if you haven't been consistently grinding, it's gonna be almost impossible unless you have a bunch of friends, really. So that's just what it is. And I don't like that. It's been like this, honestly, I would say since Legion-ish. It got really bad during Shadowlands. I don't know how bad it is this expansion because I've been on and off. So the few times I have been on, it's been pretty bad. And I do see like some complaints on the forums as well. Now, for PvP, PvP is a can of worms, okay? And I hate it and I love it. And I'm gonna, like, my stance on PvP isn't as cemented as it is in PvE because there's so many, how do I say this? With PvP, the way it is either you're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it. And I fit in the center where I do it, but only because I don't want to PvE all the time. So I'm kind of like bouncing back and forth. So I guess the best way to start off for PvP would be resilience versus versatility. Back in the day, we would have resilience, and the more resilience you had, the less player damage you took. They tried to remove that and balance PvP, but they ended up just pushing it onto versatility. And people might argue and say, oh, that's fake, but to be fair, if you have a player who has 5% versatility versus a player who has 20% versatility, if you're 5% versatility, you're getting clapped. You're getting clapped. There's no way around it. And it's basically resilience. That's essentially what it is with the new name. And it is a little disheartening because in order to get better at PvP, you have to grind for the gear, which means there's going to be lots of time. If you're going from PvE to PvP, and you're the type of player who likes to just do a little bit of everything, and you're not dedicated to one thing, it is going to kick your ass for the first 2 months-ish. Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to lose a lot of matches because you're going to have almost no versatility. And a lot of people on your team are probably not going to have versatility because the game has like this really weird matchmaking algorithm where the people on your team are going to be your skill level with gear level, but the people on the other team sometimes will be like super grinders. Like, it's weird. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does, and it's kind of disheartening. So yeah, you're gonna have to get your ass kicked a few times, and eventually, even if you lose, you're still gonna get tokens, but it gets disheartening, after a while. But you use those to get the gear, and then eventually you start winning. But the thing is, if you haven't played in a while, it's gonna be hard to catch up fast, especially with seasons changing. And if you've missed like 2 seasons, you're not like, it's not gonna be impossible, but it's gonna be more of a grind than if you didn't miss a season. Now let's talk about system abuse. This is a touchy topic because I see lots of people complaining about it and lots of people praising it. What is system abuse? Oh boy. System abuse is basically you're able to queue up with your friends. You're able to queue up with any level. So what a lot of people do is low levels will queue up with a high level. And what's going to end up happening is if a level 30 goes into the match with the level 60, the level 60 is not going to have any level benefit, any skill benefit, but they will have a gear benefit. While the gear does scale down, what's going to end up happening is if you're level 30 and you just have quest gear and you're PvPing, even if you win and you get a bunch of blues and greens from the boxes, it doesn't really help. But if you're level 30 and your opponent is a scaled down level 60, you're not going to be anywhere near the item level cap for that bracket. But that scaled down level 60 is. So even though he is on the same level as you, with the same skills as you, in terms of like him not having level 60 skills, he's only having up to level 30 skills, his item level is pretty much just going to kick your ass. Because even though his item level isn't like whatever it is at level 60, even though its scaled down version is still going to be the peak of the level 30 cap bracket, basically. So he's still gonna do damage to you. And I see a lot of people abusing that. And it's fun once in a while, but then eventually you have people who just stay in that bracket in terms of like getting their friends to constantly queue with them and their alts. So you'll like go into the match and you'll see Biggest Dickus, right? Queuing up with his level scaled down 60 friend, Bigger Dickus, and he'll have the biggest item level cap for that bracket. So say you're at level 30, he's at scaled at level 30, and you have say your health is 200, his health will be like 290 because of his item level, and that 90 points, and then he'll also have increased strength and all these other stats because his item level, even though it's scaled down, it's still the peak for that bracket. It's system abuse, basically. That's what it is. Like, they implemented it, but you can abuse it. And I won't lie, I've done it a few times. I've gotten people to invite me as a level 60, and I have to tell you, it is so easy to win. And I feel really bad because it makes people who don't have friends that are high level, and they're just trying to PvP between questing because they're bored of questing, they get their ass kicked hard. And and a lot of times you get disheartened from it, you know? Constantly dying, it pisses you off, you rage quit. So how could we fix it? This is how we fix it. What you do is, the game should have an algorithm, or if they can implement that, what it should be is basically everyone that goes in, their item level should be checked. And say you go in and you have the lowest item level in the entire battleground, what the game should do is give you a buff that averages your item level. So you're not worse than anybody, but you're not better than anybody. It just averages you out so you have a fighting chance without being overpowered. I feel like that might help. A buff like that might help. And then obviously the better item level you have, you don't get the buff. That would pretty much go in hand with their level cap, but it'll be also an item level cap. So everyone kind of gets on the same playing field, so only your skill really comes into handy. Like, you have to basically rely more on your skill than your item level. And that can also work for end game PvP, because in end game PvP, if you have a fresh level 60, and you go into PvP and there are people who have been playing for months, you will get your ass kicked hard, repeatedly, until you grind out better gear. But sometimes you get your ass kicked so much you don't want to grind gear anymore because you feel like, what's the point? I'm gonna log in, get my ass kicked, log off. So if they add this item level buff where the game is like, okay, everyone is at item level 400, you're at item level 300 or 320, it will give you a percentage buff from the average item levels of everyone. So that way you're able to at least hold your ground, because sometimes you'll get on and your team will always have, say your team has an average item level of 300 but the enemy team has an average eye level of 400. The entire team is getting their ass kicked. And people can argue that, oh, most of it is skill. Yes, but if you're not very skilled, then that item level difference will clap you no matter what. And if you're not skilled and you have a better item level, then you'll clap everybody without doing much either. It goes both ways. And I feel like a good balance would be to have a item level cap on it, or at least a buff, so the lower item levels can be on par with the higher item levels, or at least close to being on par, so they have a fighting chance. But enough about all of that. Let's move on to something fun, something you've been waiting for. We're going to talk about the future of WoW and then some possible theories. Alright, so we're going to move on to theories now and the future of WoW. So, future of WoW. First, we're going to talk about the War Within. So, it looks promising. Don't get me wrong. The expansion looks promising. However, I see... how do I explain this? I see some changes and some this quality of life that they're adding, and I like it. But there are some things that worry me. So, first, let's just talk about this mess. So, instead of getting one expansion like normal, we got 3 announced. Kind of like how Hearthstone does it. So we have the War Within, which is going to be the next one, followed by Midnight, and then the Last Titan. I'm not going to go into these two, but that's for a different video. If you like this content, let me know. I'll definitely go into Midnight and Last Titan later then. But right now, we're just sticking to the War Within. So, like it says, we're going to be going to subterranean zones, and from the looks of this, and from BlizzCon, this expansion is basically about uncovering the heart of Azeroth. No, not the locket that everybody dreaded back in BFA, but the actual heart that Magni's been talking to for years. So, we have some new zones here. This one is called the Isle of Dorn. This is a dwarven... it's going to be a dwarven city and zone off the shores of Pandaria. That is interesting. I would have never guessed it to be there. Most continents are towards north end. We have the Ringing Deep, which is just gonna be like Zalakine Caverns, but dwarven. It's good. It's not bad. I like it. Hollowfall looks interesting, and this is what I wanted to talk about. There's a sword right there. And then the Nerubian Kingdom. So Hollowfall is like... So the Arathi tribe, a human tribe who battled against Nerubians for centuries. My question is, did it ever say Arathi was underground? Because I swear the Arathi Basin, for example, they were human tribes above ground. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. We're not going to go into lore discussion. That's, again, could be for another video. We're just here to talk about features. So, this is it. This is what I wanted to talk about. So we have delves. Now this is interesting. So basically, the way Chris Metzen and the other people explained it is, it's like it's like dungeons. Well, the way I'm gonna explain it is like it's like dungeons mixed with scenarios from Pandaria. You know scenarios. Well, if you joined after Pandaria, you probably wouldn't know them. Um, I guess the closest thing could be like the time rifts or whatever that are in Dragonflight. I like it. It's good. It looks like it's gonna add some extra things to do. This caught my attention. So, like I said, they want to integrate rep across all alts. So if they do it in a way where, say, the first 10 basic quests into the expansion give you 2 renown on your main, and then you do it again on your alt, you should now technically have 4 renown. And if they do it like that, it's going to make rep grinding so much easier. Because normally, after like the first, like once you get like start getting into the expansion, like into the zones, you kind of don't want to rep grind. So if you can just get your rep done from just the basic quests, a lot of people are just going to do that. And I'm in favor for that. Yeah, it's going to separate the grinders from the casuals, but it's going to make it easier for everybody. And from what they said, at least what I'm hoping, Warbands is going to be basically, hopefully, it's like you show up to camp and all your alts are there and they're walking around and you can interact with them. That'd be a cool system, you know? You can like dress up your alts with transmog, so you can have like this really sick like rogue walking around that's your character with like a mage in the background that's also an alt. That'd be really cool. It'll make your alts feel like they're more than just extra characters for you to go on when you're bored. It'll also kind of open up to the fact that then, like lore wise, your main isn't some shape shifting weirdo that can go turn into different classes. You know, like then it'll kind of get to the fact that all of these characters are adventurers in the game. So I'm looking forward to that. Hero talents is what I am skeptical about. It looks cool in design and in concept. And essentially what it is you know how we have a normal talent system right now where it's class and then spec? What hero talents supposed to do is you're supposed to take your spec one or class one step further. For example, in this version, you'll have your spec talents and you'll have your class talents, but then you'll be able to upgrade it. So now you can be an Elune's Chosen or a Keeper of the Grove besides whatever else you are right now. Like, the best way I could explain this would be like, your shaman now, besides elemental, will probably have the ability to become a Tide Sage from BFA, or a Dinomancer from BFA, stuff like that, you know, or an Astromancer from Legion or something like that. Like it's supposed to add these extra classes which you see NPCs being in the game, and that's a cool concept. Hopefully it doesn't break the system, because Blizzard, I love you, but you haven't exactly been the best balancing group. Like, we don't, for example, they've had some balancing mistakes over the years. I think, what was it, Shadowlands? There's one balancing mistake they had in Shadowlands where a certain setup on the Unholy Death Knight can one-shot like anything in the game, whether it's a player or a boss. So hopefully they implement this in a way where not only is it just cool to look at and cool for the role-playing perspective of it, but it's also mechanically wise, it's a benefit rather than a handicap. And if it is a benefit, it shouldn't be too much of a benefit, because then everyone's gonna be like, oh, why should I just go for Loon's Chosen when Keeper of the Grove is better? So don't make it too meta either. Make it something that's more of a fun situation with some extra help, rather than just you pick it, you use it. That's the only way to go, because that is boring. Because then everyone has the same build, and then what's the point of that? Because in Classic, right, they're trying to do this thing where I think it's called Season of Discovery, where your Warlock can be a tank and your Mage can be a healer. So they're trying to mess around with that. So hopefully Hero Talents is something similar to that. Next up, we have the new allied race. So I don't know how I feel about this. We already have dwarves. We already have Wildhammer and other customization for dwarves. We also have Dark Iron dwarves, and now we have technically a third type, or fourth if you count the customization. So this is supposed to be a dual allied spec. They can be Horde or Alliance. It's a Titan forged race made of living stone. I don't know how I feel about this, because essentially it's going to be a reskinned dwarf with some extra abilities slapped onto it, and they'll give it to the Horde as well. I don't really know how I feel about Horde having dwarves. If they should have had dwarves, they should have had Dark Iron, if anything. But then that would have been a big mess with the Iron Forge and a bunch of other stuff. But I mean, we'll see how they we'll see. At this point, I'm not going to be skeptical about lore stuff. Let them add whatever, as long as it makes little sense and it's fun. But I'm not sure how I feel about these guys. We'll see. I was looking more for like maybe other classes for Drakthir. That'd be pretty cool, but we'll see how this goes. Next up is dynamic flying, which is what I talked about in the Alleria cinematic. So they're basically attaching dragonflight flying to every mount in the game, and I like the concept. Dragonflight flying is fun. It's intuitive. It's definitely better than just taking your mount up in the Z-axis and then going in the other axis, because let's be honest, that gets boring after a while, and it feels slow, feels sluggish. And really, it feels really weird, like you're T-posing away. This feels a little bit more lively. Though, this does have some cons, like it's easier to hit a building or get stuck in a tree, but that's because Dragonflight was kind of made for it. So this future expansions will probably have this stuff in mind. But I don't know how the old world is going to have it, if they implement it in the old world permanently. And I don't know if they have, because I haven't really played Dragonflight since, I would say, August or July. So, not 100% sure if Dynamic is already in the old world. But if it isn't, then they might add it in this expansion. And lastly, we have a bunch of new raids coming. We always do. I mean, why wouldn't we? It's not going to be an expansion without raids and dungeons. But yeah, so who I saw at the end of the Alleria cinematic was Xal'atath. And apparently she's going to be the bridge between this expansion and Midnight. So there you go. That is what we have for just the future state of WoW. But let's go into some theories, because this is where I'm going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to keep it a little short. If you want to see more, let me know. But a theory I have is, Chris in the BlizzCon stage said that this expansion is going to be about the Azeroth World Soul. Midnight, the next expansion, is going to be about Void and going back to Quel'Thalas. And then the third expansion of the saga, The Last Titan, is going to be about returning to Northrend. So if we're banishing the void in midnight, there's no way it's gonna be over, because they've been building up the void and Battle of the Light for since Legion, really. I mean, technically they've been building it up since TBC, but the lore kind of got a little iffy here and there. But they've been building it up for a while. So there's no way we're just gonna walk into Quel'Thalas, destroy this void, and that's it. There's definitely more, and of course, Enzoth is still there. It's been talked about in interviews, so we know Enzoth is still fumbling around. So a theory I have is that, well, this kind of goes back to Shadowlands. If they keep the theme that the Titans and all of those people are robots, then, because the Winter Queen, if you don't remember, the Winter Queen is the sister to Elune. Now, Elune has a lot of mystical powers, but that also means she's a robot because she's the sister to the Winter Queen. So if Elune is a robot, I don't know how I feel about that. All right, I don't know how I feel about that, because she's supposed to be some really like magical godlike being. She managed to lift Ysera's body off the ground and turn her into stars. Bring Ysera's body into Shadowlands. It's a bunch of crazy stuff. So I don't really know how I feel about her being a robot. But here's the theory. And my theory is that Midnight is also going to be the expansion where Elune is introduced. Maybe not fully, because again, I feel like if they keep her the mystery, it's going to be the best thing they can do. Because there's not a lot of mysteries left in WoW, besides the ones they keep making up. So, if Elune is part of the second expansion, that means we're going to see some hints of her in the next expansion. And technically, with all the Dragonflights having their powers back, that means we're going to have the Dragonflights teaming up with us. So, here's my theory. This is more of a silly theory than like a serious theory. And I think at the end of the Midnight expansion, they're going to do an Avengers Assemble type of thing. And you're going to have everyone showing up to fight the Void. Everyone. Vol'jin's Ghost. The Dragonflights. Ural and her extremist light regime. Everybody popping out of nowhere from portals. That's what it looks like they're trying to do. Or at least they're trying to set it up as. It's a shame, though, because that's what it should have been for Legion. But what are you going to do? But, yeah. So that was my theory. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And I want to apologize. This was my first time doing this sort of thing. So sometimes I had to keep looking at my notes to make sure I was in track with like the topics. Because I had made notes like, okay, we're going to talk about this and then this. So I wanted to make sure I was staying on track. Also, I have a little bit of a stuttering problem, so I'm sorry if that was kind of tripping you guys up a little bit. But besides that, I hope this was informational. I hope it brought you entertainment. And, you know, if you liked it, then please drop a like, drop a sub. It means a lot to me and this channel. And if you have any tips, comment them below. And if you want me to do anything more like this, then please let me know. And, you know, I'll do it. You know, I want to make a community I can engage with and entertain. So as always, you know, please drop a comment. And it's been your boy, Harry Can't Play. And I hope you have a good day, good night, good evening, and I'll see you next time.